Come with me to make some delicious Parmesan pasta from scratch. After laying out all my ingredients, I decided to wash my hands to be sanitary, and then I got started. I grabbed 1 cup of flour and I put it onto the cutting board and created a bowl to put my eggs into. Then I had to take my eggs and separate the whites from the yolks. After doing that, I then put my egg yolks into the flour bowl. I then started incorporating my eggs into the flour to make our dough mixture. I love using just the egg yolks because you get that nice yellow color in the dough. After making the dough, I covered it in saran wrap and placed it in the fridge to cool for about 30 minutes. While the dough was chilling, I decided to get out my chicken and start to cut it up into pieces. After I was done with that, I put them into a pan with a little bit of olive oil. After I cleaned off my workspace, I got to work on making my sauce. I started by taking a bulb of garlic and separating 4 cloves from it, which I would use to mince into my sauce. In my saucepan, I then added a 1/4 cup of butter into it, and as it melted, I added the minced garlic. Then I added the heavy cream into the sauce. For the final part of my sauce, I had to add the most important step, the Parmesan. I got to work on grating it into a bowl. After I had enough, I poured 1/2 cup of Parmesan into my sauce, and as the cheese melted, I could smell it getting delicious. By then, my chicken was fully cooked, and I put it onto the cutting mat and cut it up and prepared it for my sauce, which I then put those diced pieces into the sauce. As the sauce was almost ready and the pasta was ready to come out of the fridge, I decided to get my water boiling. I grabbed my dough from the fridge and began feeding it into the pasta machine, creating layers and making it smooth and a nice texture. Once I felt like I had a good enough texture, I started to thin out the pasta. Once the dough was thin enough, I started to make my tagliatelle. I then added my long strips of pasta into the bowl. I then stirred it around to make sure that no pieces were stuck together. Once the pasta was done, I poured it into the strainer and got out all of the water. I then added the pasta into my bowl with a little bit of sauce already, and then poured the sauce that I had just made on top. I then sprinkled some chives on top to make it look good. Doesn't this just look so yummy? When my mom got home from work, we tried it together and she said that she definitely enjoyed it and that it was such a nice surprise, so that's why you should.